And I'm Richard Pitt, and I'm sitting here with David Ingram, and we're talking
You're supposed to be looking at the camera, Richard.
we're talking about marketing.
Yeah.
I should be sitting talking to the camera. See, I don't do this. I'm not the host very often, so
Anyway,
there.
so we're back.
We're back.
It's Ingram. And if you're having fun watching this and whatever, this has got to be the funniest program we ever did. We're supposed to be talking...
we were talking about doing some funnier ones.
Yeah, we're talking about...
What's
what's this? This says
Marketing.
PU2. It's still marketing, yeah.
P-zip marketing.
P-zip marketing. Oh, that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
okay.
see, this is
Let's
it.
just finish up about the night...
The flags that you have... September 11th.
Well, September the 11th, I was sitting there, and... No, I'm sorry, not September the 11th. Not September the 11th.
I was talking about this year, but anyway.
Yeah, the September the 11th, I actually had 3 clients that were killed in that, as you know, and I
Yes.
was a member of the Vista Club at the top of the World Trade Center, the windows in the world. So I likely knew another 4 or 5 people that were killed that had worked for the club.
Right.
But that's beside the point. On the day that Iraq was invaded, I was sitting in the office in West Vancouver, still had an office in, and I'm looking at this, and it's awesome. There's, CNN's broadcasting the attack on Iran, or in Iraq.
Yep.
So I had a whole bunch of stuff down in the States at David Hancock's place.
That's
I
right.
said, wait a minute,
Yes.
they might close the border. This could be all sorts of stuff.
That's right.
So I decided to get in the Jeep and drive down and pick up my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to the border. And at the time, I had Canadian flags and American flags, if you remember.
That's right. Yes, you did.
Didn't have
yes.
a blended flag. And I went to the border. And there was not a car at the border, either way. I pulled up, and I got these 2 flags flying, and the guy at the border seemed to recognize me, so we talked for a few minutes about what was happening and what are you doing. I said, well, I think maybe this border might close or something over that, so I decided I'd get down and pick up a bunch of stuff I got at my friend's warehouse. He says, likely a good idea, because he thought. Went back down across and picked up my stuff. I come back to Canada, and same thing. I had like $600 worth of stuff I should have had to pay. All they wanted to do was talk about what was happening. I was the only car in line both ways, and driving through Blaine, the side, every store, everything, it was empty. There was nobody in the bar. It was ridiculous. Everybody was home. What's happening? And when I got, all they wanted to talk about at the border coming back to Canada was what did I think about Chrétien's. I mean, these other border guys aren't supposed to be
they're not supposed to be anything
but they wanted
political
to talk,
at all.
They wanted to talk to David, and I said that I thought Chrétien was completely wrong in not supporting the U.S.
Yep.
And of course, the crazy thing was, just for the record, that Chrétien was slated to go have dinner with George Bush at the ranch in Crawford, Texas.
Yes.
That was canceled. And instead, Howard, the Prime Minister of Australia, I think it was Howard, wasn't it?
I believe it was, yes.
Went to have dinner instead. Howard produced about 2,200 troops, 2,217 troops, I think, from Australia, and said, we're supporting the U.S. and their whatever. Yep. Canada produced about 12,000 troops that we sent to Afghanistan and released U.S. troops to go to Iraq.
Yes.
We did 6 times more. And Chrétien, the first phone call that Josie, Mitchell's mother, ever answered in this house was from John Chrétien, just for the record. The very first phone call she ever answered in this house was from John Chrétien. And Chrétien, who I consider a really good guy, was so stupid that he didn't. Anyway, the end result was I found these at a dollar store in Park Royal. And they had about 2 or 3 of them, and I said, well, and they were just being left as samples. But, of course, I bought it and then ended up, and by the time I was finished, I'd bought about 3,000 of those and have given them away. And then last September the 11th this year.
You can see them up behind us here.
Yeah.
I put a couple up last week.
Steve Williams, I almost forgot his name. Steve Williams, who lives in West Vancouver, and he's a paramedic, phoned me and he said, David, he said, I need 300 flags. He was going to buy them, pay for them.
Yep.
And I said, what for? He said, well, we got a September the 11th peace run.
That's right.
And it was firemen, policemen, and ambulance attendants, paramedics, on motorcycles, going from the town and country to the Peace Arch.
That's right.
And it was a marvelous ceremony, and he didn't have. So We're talking about marketing and selling and
Yes.
And why China wins, okay?
Why China wins? Well,
I went to my supplier and he didn't have any of those wooden ones,
yep.
which I pay him usually about $2 a piece for. So I went on the internet and I found an organization in China. Yep. And you see, the flags are not the same size.
They're not the same size. They're not the same quality, and we'll talk about that
well,
too.
The quality in this one is 3 times as good as that one.
Absolutely.
This one will stand up to a 100-kilometer drive on your car.
I have one. I have had several of these on my motorcycle. I ride a Honda Goldwing, and they're strapped to my antenna. They usually last me, well, the last one didn't last me a whole ride. Now, that was 600 clicks.
Yeah, they disintegrate in the wind. These ones,
this one, I've got one. I did take it off because it won't fit on my on my actual luggage. But you can take the little cap off,
yeah.
And these do come off, and you can
yeah.
put them over the top of your antenna.
Yeah.
These are nice, and it looks perfect. Even after several hundred kilometers, it's still perfect.
Well, what happens is it's shorter, and I didn't want it shorter.
It's also heavier and well stitched.
Well, yes, but they also explained to me that the size generates how fast you can take it to a little bit. It's much better that size. And if you look at them when you're like I fly them from the Cadillac with the convertible down,
that's right.
So they're up over top of me.
Yeah.
And what I found is that if I've got one of those, you know, I've got signs on my car.
Yes.
You're talking about marketing.
We're going to talk about.
If I put one of those on, the 10 times more people look at the car. They look at the sign because that attracts the attention. Now, it's a U.S. Canadian. It's a blended flag.
It's actually illegal in the U.S.
Well, not really.
Well,
we've given it to Bill Clinton. We've given it to the U.S. Ambassador to Canada.
Yes.
Two different ones. We've given it to the U.S. Consul General. He wants 300 of them from me. And what's interesting about this, and Steve Point, the Canadian Lieutenant Governor here for the province of BC, he has one and loves it, and his picture and the U.S. Consul General's picture were published in the paper with the two of them sitting there holding one of the flags. And as marketing, you'll notice that the old ones we had no method of putting a name on it, but we've now had some.
You got some stickers.
We got some stickers made up, and those were made by a fellow whose name escapes me, but he's in Lions Bay. He works out of his house, and he's
just got a little imprinter that does these.
I showed up at his house and told him what I wanted, and he gave them to me a day and a half later, 2,000 of them, and then we managed to stick them on the flag. So
they're on
that's marketing. So now,
marketing.
So at the motorcycle run, what I did was I donated 300 flags. And if the people want to the organization, and if people wanted one for the motorcycle, they had to donate $5 to the. So I presumably they raised $1,500. They cost me about $3 a piece, but I figured that was a good deal. But that's marketing, and we had 150 motorcycles flying those flags, following my '53 Chevy Sheriff's car.
Now we get into the cars.
And Steve Williams' '57 ambulance, and another fellow's '55 Chevy fire chief's car, and then my '53 Chevy, so it was '57, '55, '53, and then a couple of hundred motorcycles, and then the Vancouver Police motorcycle drill team was blocking off the road.
With the flags?
With the flags. It was all it was priceless.